Knowing that, is it still your desire to waive your right to a preliminary exam?
Yes.
15-year-old Ethan Crumley waiving a key evidentiary court hearing, meaning his case now goes right to trial. Crumley's being charged as an adult with murder and other crimes after shots rang out November 30th, roughly 30 miles north of Detroit. 4 students were killed, others were injured at Oxford High School. Ethan Crumley's parents, Jennifer and James Crumley, have been in jail since December 4th and face involuntary manslaughter charges of their own. They're accused of making a gun accessible to their son and refusing to take him home earlier in the day of the shooting when school counselors confronted them with disturbing drawings of violence.
But the facts of this case are so egregious. Reading this document, looking at it, reading the words, "help me," with a gun, blood everywhere. This doesn't just impact me as a prosecutor and a lawyer, it impacts me as a mother.
New allegations about the teen's passion for guns and boasts about violence are also now coming to light. A prosecutor stating Ethan Crumley made a video with a different gun and told a friend in a message it was, quote, time to shoot up the school. Also noting Ethan told his mother in text messages that he thought there was a demon, ghost, or someone else inside of the home.
In May of 2021, he was torturing and killing animals. He did this at the family home. He filmed himself doing it. That film was on his phone.
Keith says the parents failed to intervene in these scenarios, and after their son had regularly searched for information about school shootings and guns. But defense attorneys insist the Crumleys didn't know that a school shooting was in the works and didn't make the gun easy to find at home. Today, the Crumleys tried to get their bond lowered from $500,000 to $100,000 and leave jail.
Your Honor, they were not trying to flee, Your Honor. They are not a flight risk. They were not a flight risk, and we're asking that the court grant our motion to reduce the bond.
But the move was denied by a judge who noted the couple failed to turn themselves in when they were charged on December 3rd. The prosecution says the couple drained Ethan's bank account of $3,000 and had more than $6,000 in cash and numerous phones and credit cards when they were arrested miles away in a Detroit art studio. Hours after charges were announced. Following the shooting, the district is now requiring students to wear clear backpacks. Oxford High School is expected to resume classes in 2 weeks. Kelly Beeson, News Nation.
Dave Ehrenberg is a state attorney in Florida, and he has followed this case closely along with us, and he is joining us live tonight. Dave, as always, appreciate your time. So we've got 2 cases here that I want to dig into. We've got the case against Ethan, and we've got the other case against his parents. I want to start with Ethan because there's a lot to dig into with these parents. He's accused of committing this horrific, unthinkable crime. He seemed to communicate to people that he was struggling. He was seeing demons. He was drawing images that were disturbing and troubling. We all now know that. He is 15 years old, charged as an adult. So what is the process of determining, one, if he is even competent to stand trial?
Marnie, the question that a judge will have to decide is whether the defendant understands the nature and the purpose of the legal proceedings against him and be able to effectively cooperate with his lawyer in his defense. This is different than whether he is legally sane or insane. That's different. That's whether you knew what you did was wrong. That would be the definition to determine you are in fact sane. It doesn't matter if you have a mental ailment. If you knew what you did was wrong, then you are not legally insane under the law. But competence is a different matter. That was your question, and that's whether or not you can assist with your defense, whether you understand the nature and the purpose of the charges against you.
But he's being charged as an adult. He's not an adult. He's 15. So how does that play into it?
Well, you can charge a 15-year-old as an adult in certain circumstances. Each state has different rules about it. But under Michigan law, you can go ahead and charge in a case like this with a horrific quadruple homicide. Now, I guess conceivably, the judge could try in certain circumstances to send the case to juvenile court, but that's not going to happen here because in juvenile court, the juvenile court only has jurisdiction over someone until the age of like 19. It depends on the state. But, after that, the person can go free. So this is the kind of case that's made for adult court, made for adult sanctions. And that's why it's going to stay in adult court. And I think the only real chance he has to get away with it would be if he's found not guilty by reason of insanity, that he didn't know what he did was wrong. To me, that's the only defense he has left.
And prosecutors say they have a mountain of evidence, but will his defense team try to play his parents against him and say they knew what was going on? He asked for help. He didn't get it. This happened.
Sure. Yeah, the parents are the worst. I mean, it's not just they enabled him. They saw, and they should have seen, that he was hurting. He was crying out for help. And instead, they LOL'd him. They bought him a gun. They refused to take him home on the day that he was in the principal's office. They didn't tell the school that he had access to a gun. They didn't ask him to check the backpack. And then it's really telling that look who's representing the parents, Marnie. Private attorneys. But who's representing their son in court? A public defender. Well, I guess a private lawyer is good enough for them, but when it comes to their son, they're going to let the state pay for it. So that's the kind of parents they are: absentee parents, parents who care only about themselves. And I do think they're going to face justice in this case.
And I think they were strapped for money. What we're hearing in court now is that they were mortgaging their house against other things. They didn't have the cash even really to run. How about the school, though? There were concerns early on that the school officials may face some sort of legal consequences because they played a role in it. They knew about some of this stuff. They didn't pass it along to police. Is that still a possibility?
Well, I think the school is going to face a ton of civil litigation, but not criminal charges. I think the difference is that the school did not know that Crumbley had access to a gun. That's the difference between civil charges here, in my opinion, and criminal charges. The parents knew. The parents bought him the gun. But the parents never told the school officials that he had access to a gun. And so when the school officials sent him back to the classroom, I think that could be civil liability. It's a much lower bar than criminal exposure, but I don't think you get to criminal charges here against school officials.
What type of precedent would it set if the parents are then convicted of this involuntary manslaughter on a broader scale, not just on those involved in mass shootings, but in any crime in general, if somebody knew something, didn't say something?
Well, these are unusually egregious facts. In a case like this, the parents should be charged. I mean, people are sick and tired of all these school shootings, and they're wondering whether the parents will finally be held accountable. But under the law, they're generally not. And there's no legal obligation to lock up a gun in Michigan. But in a case like this, where you buy your troubled kid a gun and you LOL him and say, don't get caught after the teacher catches you looking for ammunition on your phone, and then you refuse to take your son home, you refuse to tell the school that he has access to the gun, you refuse to ask him to look at the backpack. All these things combined mean that the parents should be charged, and the precedent will be that in certain egregious cases like this, we will charge the parents of a school shooter.
Hard to find sympathy for them right now. 4 young people dead way too soon in this tragedy. Dave, as always, thank you.
Thanks, Marnie.
Thanks for watching. Click the red subscribe button below so you can get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.